Tony Cox, what's up, brother?
How you doing there, Mr. Suleiman? Let's get the show started tonight. This is our last one before the holidays, and we'll be back to see you in January. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, we got a good one tonight, man. Thanks everybody joining, getting back with us again. This one is about the president and the Supreme Court, and them allowing him to expand his presidential powers, make decisions without congressional approval, firing federal workers and leadership in the financial agencies of our country. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then, Tony and I may throw in something at the end, kind of what's on our mind, what our thought process is about this week. So let's go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, and that segment going to be called On Another Note. And starting the new year, we're going to have that every episode. And once again, we're going to try our best to bring in some of the best and the brightest people we can as guests. Sometimes it's very hard to get people that work to come in and do these segments and stuff. So we're going to figure out how we can do it. We might even get them to record in advance and send their recording in or something to that effect. But we'll get y'all going. So as Suleiman said, we're gonna talk about the Supreme Court, which is pretty much doing like Congress right now. They're giving all their power to the President of the United States willingly. And I never thought I would see that because all these people have big egos. But for some reason, they're bowing down to Donald Trump. And it seems like it's party over country right now. So it's really a big deal. If you think it's not a big deal, it is a big deal. And one of the cases that we're going to focus on tonight is Trump v. Slaughter 2025. Let me give you a rundown and then I have Suleiman speak on it in just a second. The issue is whether Trump could remove FTC Commissioner Rebecca Kelly Slaughter without cause. As you all know, Ms. Slaughter is a Black FTC commissioner. Usually when an FTC commissioner is assigned, they go for a certain period of time, and the president can't just arbitrarily remove them. They're supposed to be independent from any political speak or whatever. The president, not the president, the president at stake, meaning the court case at stake, is Humphrey's executor 1935, which limited the presidential removal power over independent agencies. Like Suleiman said at the beginning, these independent agencies include FTC, SEC, and the Federal Reserve. What the court is signaling, they started this court case last week, end of last week, and as you know, some of you may know, you can listen in to Supreme Court arguments. They just don't have cameras in there. And as we listen in to the Supreme Court argument, the conservative justice, the 5 conservative justices suggested overturning or weakening the precedent, citing separation of power. That's kind of crazy. Ketanji Brown had a lot to say about that. The impact if the Supreme Court does expand his power would give Trump direct control over agency regulating finance, consumer protection, and elections. Can you imagine having the president in charge of regulating finance, consumer protection, and the elections? It don't even sound right. I don't even know why the Supreme Court, but it just don't even, the Supreme Court has a right to not hear a case. And I don't know why they're not hearing this case because it don't even sound right giving the president, an elected official, control of the election process in the United States. What do you think gonna happen? Go ahead, Suleiman. I'll let you go with that.
No, I mean, I think you were right on par. We know what's going to happen. We know what they're trying to do. If a Republican president can control the election process, what do you think that Donald Trump's going to do? He's going to try to eliminate certain people from voting because they don't vote for him. That's exactly what that about is. That's exactly what that is about. um, in your face, this is what we want to do. He wants to change the election process, mainly so that people who don't look like him have a more difficult time voting, or people who don't vote Republican have a difficult time voting. That's what they want to do from a election standpoint. From a fiscal standpoint, what he wants to do is put someone in the position of the young lady you just spoke about. I can't remember her title, but what he wants to do is put someone there that is going to essentially steal from the American public and give to his rich buddies. Why the United States government or the taxpayers of this country would want to put any financial organization or agency under Donald Trump is amazing to me. This is a man who's been bankrupt 4 times, started on home plate with what his father set him up with, and he's failed throughout his life. Why would you want to put anything economically underneath this man? The more important piece is what happens in 4 years when he's not president and somebody else comes in. Is the Supreme Court going to turn around, and if it's a Democrat, they're going to say, oh, now we're going to put strangleholds on the presidential power. I mean, that's what it seems like they're trying to do, is let's give him all the powers now to wreck the government and how we do business. And then in 4 years, when he's no longer there, people will bring cases to the Supreme Court and they'll try to overturn, which is what Republicans do all the time, which is we're going to try to put everything in place to prevent people from having a fair shot. But if they overcome that and get over that hump, then we're just going to cheat. We're just going to go to Supreme Court, who's already bought and sold, and have them change the law to benefit the people that we want to be in charge. I mean, you see it in how they're chipping away at the Voting Rights Act, and what are states doing? The same states that we created laws for to prevent them from gerrymandering districts, cutting the power of people who aren't white. They're doing that now. They're like, oh, the Supreme Court says that we can do it. Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, all these states where that law was put in place to protect Black citizens from these states, they're doing exactly what they were doing in the 50s.
Exactly. So that everybody understand and they say, well, this really don't have anything to do with me on a regular basis. Well, yeah, it does. Let me tell you what's at stake here and kind of look at the numbers and everything. For nearly 90 years, the president set by Humphrey's executor has protected independent agency for political interference. These agencies, like we said before, were designed to be insulated from partisan swings, meaning if you have a Democratic president, the regulations will be one thing. If you have a Republican president, then they might be something else. So these commissions and these agencies need to have some type of stability. They regulate markets worth 10 trillion, tens of trillions of dollars. So there's a lot of money at stake here. And when you say money at stake and you say Trump, you understand what the process is and you understand why he wants his hands in the cookie jar. It oversees customer protections in everyday household goods and everything. Republicans and Donald Trump don't like regulations. They feel like it keeps businesses from making money. Just think if you got a cattle business and you take away some of the regulations on how you bring cattle to market, and next thing you know, you got a big disease going around in your cattle and everything. With no regulations in these commissions and everything, you will find out that Americans will be sicker. Look at what's happening with the Kennedy. What commission is that? What is he in charge of again? I lost
Now,
it in
here's
my head.
the
Yeah, health. Godly man, we're gonna have to come back to that. I'll get it for you. But without regulations, you're gonna see a lot of different things happening. You're seeing you're seeing measles come back now. You're seeing diseases that we thought we had eradicated that are coming back because they're saying that we don't need shots anymore. So critics also warn that the largest transfer of power from Congress to the presidency in modern history will take place, and that risk collapsing whistleblowers protection.
HHS secretary.
Okay, thank
Health
you.
and Human Services.
Her Health and Human Services Secretary is what Kennedy's in charge of, and what he's is running amok right now by saying people don't need these shots and everything, and people are getting sick now. And I just don't understand what's going on in America where people can't look for their own self and see their own eyes that this is affecting them and everything. So getting back to what Trump is trying to do, he's trying to have the largest transfer of power from Congress to the presidency in the modern history. It risks collapsing whistleblower protection, destabilizing financial markets, and eroding the checks and balances that keep democracy intact. Democracy will basically be gone if this happened because there will be no checks and balance. And that's what they're trying to do right now with no checks and balance. So the data is clear. This isn't just about one case or one president. It's about whether the safeguards built over the centuries or whether they'll be dismantled in a single ruling. The Supreme Court got the opportunity to fundamentally change America in ways that might take decades and even centuries to get it back. They're changing the way we do business. They're saying pretty much that we don't like the democracy that we have, and we want our president to have more power, which is once again ironic because we ran away from that in England. We didn't want kings and queens. So now we're trying to make our president the most powerful person around when we got checks and balances. So this is what this case that we got is highlighting. So let's look at some of the other cases, like the redistricting in Texas. The Supreme Court took that on. They didn't have to take it on. Just to give you a little history, and when we'll talk about it, is Texas, for the first time in a long time, it's not that it's the first time it's ever been done. It's been done before, but guess who did it before? Texas. So they did it again. It's the only state that's done it. Lines are supposed to be redrawn. Political lines are supposed to be redrawn every 10 years when the census is done, because it gives you a better snapshot of how the state is built and what you need to do to change those lines or make it fair for voters and stuff. And that's the whole idea of redistricting, is making it fair. But in the Constitution and in different state constitution, it says that redoing district lines or gerrymandering district lines are okay as long as it's done for political reasons, for partisan reasons. So if you win the state house as a Republican, you get to choose till the winner comes the spoil. You get to choose how those lines are done. And that's okay. In these constitutions, it's okay. But what you cannot do, and this is what the voting rights bill did, which is now gutted. There's only one part of the voting right that's still standing, and this is the part that's still standing, is that you cannot redraw lines that make it unfair according to race. So that's the last standing part of the voting right bill. So what Texas is saying is we're not redrawing this line against race. We're doing it for political reason. But when you look at the lines, the courts, the lower courts, the federal lower courts said, yes, it was hurting the minorities with these lines drawn like they were. And this went to 3 or 4 different judges, and all of them said yes. Once again, the Supreme Court took up the case, and they didn't have to take up the case. And so the ruling was that those lines that the Republican Congress in Texas drew were legal, and that they were drawing on partisan reasons and not racial reasons. So go ahead with it. I know that was a long and roundabout way of telling you about the case, but that's one of the cases they've taken on.
No, in reference to Texas, I mean, we know what Texas is doing, and I'll say this, man. This is the Republican playbook: is when they cannot win on their policies and on their bills that they want to pass for their constituents, they cheat. And this is another version of Republican cheating. Is we're going to change how people vote. We're going to change where they vote, what district they sit in. We're going to overwhelm certain districts with people who are against what they believe in, meaning that we're going to overwhelm them in a district, in a Republican district where a Democrat can't win. That's cheating. And they know it's cheating. But when you don't have any policies, when you don't have any procedures or policies or bills that help your constituents, then you have to cheat. And that's what they're doing in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And, I commend the Governor Newsom in California and Pritzker in Illinois. And here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the Assembly has pretty much said we're going to redistrict as well for fighting back. Because the Supreme Court is bought and sold. Every last one of them, from Thomas to Gorsuch, and all of those guys are bought and sold by the billionaires in this country. And they're going to do everything they can to ensure that billionaires have the benefit in our country. So it's cheating. It's cheating in our faces. We know it. And the only way that we're going to stunt it or stop it is by voting and winning in districts that they think they gerrymandered to win. I mean, it's just standard practice, man. I mean, this is what the Republicans do all the time. It's not something that just started over the last 5 years. They've been doing this for 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
They just haven't had the power. They haven't had the Congress and the Senate and the presidency to do the same things that they've been wanting to do for a very long time. And then now, unfortunately, thanks to the corporation class of this country who've bent the knee for Donald Trump, they can do it.
Yeah, exactly. So there you have it. Another case in which the Supreme Court gave Donald Trump and the Republican parties a win. Right now, it ain't even hidden anymore. It's wide out in the open. The Supreme Court is basically saying whatever Donald Trump and the Republican Party can get in front of them, they will pass. And all of these are done. Supreme Court normally take on cases in the fall, and they set up dates that they're gonna hear the cases, and they come out with a ruling normally in late June. You hear these cases all during the fall and winter, but you don't hear a ruling until late June. It used to be a ritual, pretty much a ritual where everybody wait till late June to see what Supreme Court is going to rule on these different cases they get. But Donald Trump and his minion lawyers have come up with this thing called, where it ain't nothing he came up with, but he used it more than anybody else, where it's an emergency request from the Supreme Court to take on a case that has been through appeal and lost. And that's the strange thing about a lot of these cases that they're winning, is that the Supreme Court is basically telling the federal courts and the appellate courts that y'all don't know what you're doing when it comes down to what Trump is asking for. Trump has won 85% of these cases. Trump has won on all these emergency cases. Another one that we need to talk about also is the one where the Supreme Court decision on the constitutionality of birthright citizenship. I can't speak on this without my notes, so I'm going to kind of read them to you. But the Supreme Court issued a ruling on Trump v. CASA in court. That limited the ability of lower courts. Now, the Supreme Court is taking power from the lower courts on this, to issue nationwide injunctions against executive orders, including the one that sought to restrict birthright citizenship. This means while the executive orders constitutionally remains unsettled, federal courts can no longer stop it everywhere with single ruling. Okay, so the decision affirmed that injunctions must be limited to the parties involved in a lawsuit. So, long story short, what they're saying is if a federal court, appellate court makes a case on somebody bring a case in Wisconsin, and the ruling there at that federal appellate court is that the order for the president to keep people from having birthright citizenship, if they say it is unconstitutional and birthright citizenship stands, then that will only apply to Wisconsin. It will not apply to New York, North Carolina, anywhere else. In the past, where you had these federal appellate courts, when they made a decision on something, it was carried forward all over the United States.
Sure.
That the Supreme Court is now squashing that pretty much and saying, no, 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 no. Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit and how does that help Donald Trump at this point in time? And what do you think? And I'm gonna ask you a follow-up question with this. And what do you think the Republicans gonna do when the Democrats have a Democratic president?
Well, I mean, we don't even need to go into that because we know what they're going to do. They're going to try everything, every trick and trade uh, in the book to prevent the president from having the power that they're giving to Trump now. Birthplace,
Birthright citizen.
birthright, excuse me,
Yeah.
birthright citizenship is something that has been a foundation of this country forever. People forget that, 200 and some years ago when the United States was a new country, that they needed people to come to this country. So most of the rules, most of the immigration rules in this country were developed so that people who made it here were considered citizens. Or if a woman came here and had a child, that child became an American because we wanted people to come to this country. But what's going on now is that you have racist, prejudiced, white supremacists in the White House and in our government who are frustrated the fact that white women aren't having children at the rate that they thought they were having children. Well, Spanish people, black people, Asian people are having children at a higher rate. So they're creating more Americans in the country than white people. So this is just a Stephen Miller special where let's prevent people who come into this country who don't look like us from allowing their children to be full-born citizens. They wrote laws a long time ago that Cuban people, if they put their feet on United States soil, they became citizens. That wasn't written for the black Cubans. That was written for the Cubans that look like white people. So, are we going to do that for the Europeans that come here? Is that going to be the same for them for, the Slovakians, Yugoslavians, all those people that come here as well? Or are we just going to do it for people who have a dark pigmentation? Because that's what it's about. That's what the birthright thing is about. It's about people who marry someone, that's not an American or not a citizen of this country, get pregnant, and they don't want their children to have the same rights as American white children. That's all it's about. And they know
Yeah.
it. People know it. But the reality is it's not going to work because people need to have children. Unfortunately, if white women in this country aren't getting pregnant or getting married and having children, you're not going to change it. The less if you the people that you allow, the less people you allow to come in the country, that's less people to do the jobs that most white people in the country don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You ask most people, and I always bring up West Virginia, Mississippi, you ask them if they want to go out and pick oranges off trees, or if they want to go out and pick watermelons or fruit that is in our grocery stores every day. They're not going to do it. They want to go to the butcher shop or the meat or company. No, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that work. So you're going to tell people they can't come here, people who are willing to do that work, and tell them they can't become citizens, not give them a path to citizenship. You're telling me that somebody comes here, joins the military, serves honorably in the military, that you're going to turn around and kick them out of the country when they're finished? I mean, it just makes no sense. And the people who are making these rules are people who have never done this type of work, never done this hard type of work, never served in the military. You got all these senators and congressmen who are always talking about military and that we should bomb Venezuela or bomb some boat out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. They never put on a uniform. When they had the opportunity to do it, they chickened out.
Yeah.
But yet now they're in position to murder people because that's essentially what they're doing. They're willing to do it.
Yeah.
So birthright citizenship is no different than the same old story that white supremacists in this country have tried to use to prevent somebody who doesn't look like them from succeeding. It's not going to work. It's just not.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna those emergency cases that Donald Trump keep bringing up. I'm gonna give you some data on that too. Right now, last 20 weeks or so, Donald Trump's administration has brought up 19 emergency emergency sessions. It's called shadow docket. And those shadow dockets are for emergency sessions, which asks Supreme Court to make a temporary ruling on something, on a certain thing. Even though they're a temporary ruling, it gives the party that's asking for it the opportunity to do whatever they're asking to do. So in the last 20 weeks, or the first 20 weeks of Trump's presidency, he had 19 of these applications. Joe Biden had that many over 4 years. During the Obama and Bush years, which covers 16 years, there was only 8 requests. That tells you how Donald Trump is using the shadow docket like he's doing the, what do you call that when you make a presidential order or something?
Executive order.
Executive order. There you go. Thank you. I'm sorry, y'all. But he's using the Supreme Court shadow docket like he's using executive orders. He's trying to do things quick, fast, and everything. One thing Americans can have some solace in is that these are not permanent. They're not permanent. They can be changed. They feel bad now. They look bad now. And it's kind of depressing, but they're not permanent. With that said, to close out this segment, pretty much, how do we go forward from here, seeing that all these things are being thrown at us at such a fast rate, and that he's trying to do the same thing with the Supreme Court that he has done with Congress? How do you see this going forward?
Well, I mean, first I would say I've already fast forward. I mean, like I said, the Congress, those guys are bought and sold. They will do whatever the Republicans tell them to as long as they get money. Supreme Court is the same way. The conservative Supreme Court is bought and sold. They have no um, they have no desire to follow the law. They have no desire to see 10, 15, 20 years down the line what that's going to do to this country.
Mm-hmm.
So they're bought and sold. There's not much that we can do right now other than continue to fight, speak out against it, and vote, win special elections and things like that to get people in the office that are willing to be reasonable and be willing to negotiate. As I said, the Supreme Court is bought and sold by rich people in this country. They're going to continue to make decisions that benefit the rich in this country. And we went through this before. I mean, people don't read history. The United States went through this before in the 20s and 30s, where the rich people in this country were running amok. And over the next 20 years, 30, 25, 30 years, rules and regulations were put into place. Things like, working people long hours without pay.
Yeah.
That was something that happened in the 20s all the time.
Yeah.
Union busting. They had children working. But these are things that, people think, oh, the United States has been great for 200 years. No, it hasn't. Poor people in this country in the early 1900s were taken advantage of because the rich people in this country had the politicians in their pocket, just like they do today. And that's why you see these crazy, ridiculous type of laws being implemented on the American people. It's because these corporations and these people that have a lot of money are willing to pay to get what they want. Look at Elon Musk. Where's Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
Where is he? No one's heard anything
Nowhere to be
Elon Musk. He ain't out here. Right. He's
Matter
not
of
out
fact,
here.
he made a statement this week that said he would, if he was asked to do Doge again, he wouldn't do it.
He was a useful idiot. And they used him just like they do all the other useful idiots. Stephen A. Smith, Candace Owens, all these people that come out and run their mouths about Republicans and what Republicans are doing. They use them up, and then you don't hear anything else about it. You don't hear anything about Elon Musk because he's sitting back now making money off of all the policies and things that were passed over the last 6 months to make him richer.
Yeah. Okay. So that gives us kind of tied up for us a little bit. What I do want to get back to and why this matters to our followers and everything is the case that we're talking about is about a Black woman.
Yeah.
A Black woman. He's trying to replace a Black woman. Miss Slaughter is a Black woman that by all means is very qualified to hold her position. but he said that she don't have the same mindset as what he's looking for. And so that's why he wants to change her out. What do independent mean? What part of independent he don't understand? We don't want people with the same mindset. We want people that are independent thinkers, critical thinkers, because it's a known fact that your organization, your country, and everything else is better when you have critical thinkers. So we don't want robots, everybody going in the same direction. We'll fall off a cliff if we do that. Closing reflections on this. So here we are watching history unfold. Is the necessary modernization of government aligning agency with the will of the people, or is it dangerous concentrating on power in the presidency and weakening the very safeguard of our democracy? The Supreme Court will decide, and whatever the outcome, the echoes of this case will reverberate for generations. Just what I said. Whatever they decide, it's gonna cause problems for us for generations and stuff. So
Sure.
that's where we are right now. So, as we said at the beginning, we got this. Let's talk about where they can find us at first, Suleiman, and then
Yeah,
we'll
so I
get to
mean, you
that.
can always find us on YouTube, which you see on the screen right now. Gents Making Sense. All of our full episodes and shorts are put up there. We ask that you subscribe. We are moving along. People are starting to notice us and what we're talking about. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let us know you like our content, and then subscribe to our content so you can get everything new. We also put our stuff up on social media. Spoutable is a great platform. Go ahead and do that. And then, like we always talk about, we're here to support Black-owned, Black-operated businesses. Supplement right there is a Black-owned business that sells like the water bottles, um, very good bottles, just like the ones you get from all the other places, but it's owned and operated by us. Actively Black is another one. Good sports gear, things like Nike and Adidas, but that type of stuff, they make all that. You can purchase from them and, help us build our community. Help us build our businesses so that we can support our community.
That's why we're here, and that's why we're talking. We got ourselves a platform, and we wanna build up our people and everything, and we want to talk about things that affect us. And a lot of times we don't think it affect us, and it really do. So the new segment we want to do uh, on another note. And what that does is give me and Suleiman and I, the opportunity to talk about something that's going on in the world today. And it gives us about a minute or two to talk about that. And it's just our 2 cents on something else that's going on in the world today. Suleiman, you want to take the first crack at it?
Yeah, I'll just take like 30 seconds. I mentioned it last time, but this is about Stephen H. Smith. I mean, I want Black folks to realize this guy is a complete sellout. He's not one of us. They put stuff into his mouth because they know he will say stuff about our people that they want to say and they can't say. And Stephen A. Smith is just like Candace Owens, just like Jason Whitlock, and all these, Black faces who are willing to say white supremacist stuff about our people. And Stephen A. Smith is a prime example of that. They don't pay this guy to talk about sports or to talk about anything. They pay him because he's a black face. He'll come on TV and integrate our women as well as our men and talk bad about us. That's why he's on television. You should recognize who he is and what he is. He's no different. He's just in a line of black faces that white supremacists in this country have used to be useful idiots. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, sir. I was thinking about the same one. There was a thing out today with Joy Reid where he went at Joy Reid, and Joy Reid pretty much said Joy Reid lost her show because of rating. And Joy
Yeah,
Reid said she had to look at his ratings and look at her ratings, and his everyday ratings is lower than her worst day
yeah,
and lower than any of them. He said
sure.
so. And she said exactly the same thing. He's up there
Yeah.
not because of his expertise, is because they want a face that looks like ours saying the same things that they can't say. So one of the things I want to talk about on another note is I would like to talk about that man, the orange man, Donald Trump. His ego is so crazy that he's now going to parks and regulations now. And these are these little shiny shiny things he bring in our face on Parks and Recreations now. They are going to stop veterans discount at Parks and Recreations on Juneteenth and Martin Luther King's birthday.
Yep.
Those are the two he decided to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all of them, he decided to pick to stop discounts, veterans discount on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and Juneteenth.
Mm-hmm.
And on Juneteenth, or whereabouts, somewhere in that time frame, they got a new one where the veterans can get a discount. And it's called President's Day or some
Yeah, it's his
Flag Day.
birthday.
It's Flag Day and his birthday. President's Day and his birthday. And they gonna call it Donald Trump Day.
Sure.
And people are going for this, man. Come on, America. Come on. It's right in your face. Come on, black people. All those black people that talked to me and said he can't be that bad and I did good when he was in office. He is spitting in your face and you just can't think about your own personal gain. It's like taking a deal with the devil. You saying it's all right to take a deal with the I love God, but I'm gonna take this deal with the devil because he's spitting in your face. He's taking your culture and spitting on it. Why those two holidays? You got to ask yourself. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks a lot, sir.
No problem.
Good episode. Good episode. And we look forward to coming back and seeing y'all next year. So everybody be safe for the holiday. Suleiman?
Yeah, man. I don't have anything else to say, but man, enjoy the holidays, everybody. We'll be back hotter than we were this year, bringing on some guests next year. So thanks again. Hit that subscribe button, that like, of course.
Thank you, y'all. Appreciate it.
All right.